Welcome to another edition of Political Empire. I'm your host, Kim Pearsall with the Press Enterprise and PE.com. We're going to be talking about Jerry Lewis and an investigation that one critical group has panned. And second, we're going to go to our Washington correspondent, Ben Goad, who's going to talk about the Republican National Convention and what he's expecting is going to occur there. So first, Lewis investigation panned. The Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, a longtime critic of Jerry Lewis, the Redlands Republican who will retire this year, was critical this time of an investigation into Lewis's use of earmarks and his ties to lobbyists by the Department of Justice. In 2010, the DOJ closed the case. Crew, after receiving heavily redacted FBI documents, came to the conclusion that the department undermined its own investigation. Lewis has all along said he didn't do anything wrong, and in responding to Crew's latest claims, his spokesman said the congressman would have, quote, no comment on wild fantasies that have no basis in fact, which is Crew's stock in trade, end quote. Now we'll go to Washington, D.C. to talk to our correspondent Ben Goad about the Republican National Convention. Ben, thanks so much for joining us today.
You bet. Hey, Kim.
Fantastic. The Republican Party is going to be gathering soon in Tampa, Florida to officially nominate Mitt Romney and his running mate Paul Ryan. No surprises there, but it's certainly a grand old party for political operatives. Curious, Ben, you're going to be there. You're attending both of them. What do you expect to come out of the conventions? What's going to be the makeup of the delegations this year?
Well, as you mentioned, some of them are already on their way. Some of them are already there. There'll be thousands of Republicans from around the country descending on Tampa, and among them will be about 36 local delegates. And the Inland Areas delegation is really diverse. It's a whole range of folks from dental hygienists and retired teachers to mayors and councilmen, and Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack is a delegate this year. So you got first timers, you got longtime politicos, and they're all going to be kind of raging on politics for a good solid week. I mean, there's rallies, there's speeches, there's parties, there's fundraisers, there's strategy sessions, and they're going to be in the mix. And of course, they'll participate in the formal nomination of Governor Romney as the Republican candidate and Paul Ryan as the vice presidential candidate.
Certainly sounds like a rager indeed. Curious, you've covered a few of these now. What happens behind the scenes for folks who aren't able to go in person?
Well, there's a lot of socializing, you could say. I mean, certainly in the early stages of the convention, they're creating a platform, they're voting on it, and they're doing the sort of the process part of this. But at night, there's parties, there's celebrities, there's fundraisers, and there's a lot of money being raised out there. So we'll keep an eye on which of our candidates are hauling in cash while they're out there. And the other thing for the state of California's delegation, this is a party that's fallen on arguably hard times. They're had some financial troubles where they've had to downsize their operation, and so they're really looking to sort of rebrand themselves, I think, and showcase some of their rising stars out in Tampa.
Well, in addition to speeches and parties and celebrities and so forth, there's also going to be potentially bad weather, correct? So what are attendees going to face potentially? There's a tropical storm brewing?
That's right. Tropical Storm Isaac is heading toward the Caribbean as we speak, and expected to potentially, and potentially is the key word here, hit South Florida at some point early week. Now, I've seen reports saying that there's a very small chance that this thing will turn into a hurricane and force any evacuations, but I will be bringing my raincoat.
Well, for your sake, I hope it's not a hurricane. And Ben, in the meantime, enjoy Washington, D.C.'s beautiful weather, which I'm sure is wonderful right now. And we're going to be getting your updates as well while you're at the convention. So thanks so much for joining us today.
You bet.
And thanks to you for watching yet another edition of Political Empire. We're going to be back next week with convention updates and more political news happenings here in the Inland Empire.